Welcome to Transform and Thrive. I'm your host, Jessalin Lam, and this series is all about uncovering the stories of transformation, resilience, and growth that inspire us to embrace change and thrive in our lives. In each of these episodes, I sit down with trailblazers who've turned challenges into opportunities, and they share their pivotal lessons and mindset shifts of how and what led them to transformations. And today's guest is Kat Gordon, who is the amazing founder of the 3% Movement and founder of the 3% Coaching Coalition. So excited and honored to have you as today's guest. And for everyone listening, whether you're navigating a challenge or seeking a motivation to take that next step, you'll find so much inspiration in this conversation today. So let's dive in and welcome, Kat.
Thank you. So happy to chat with you.
Great, great. So the first question is diving straight into transformation. Can you share a significant challenge or turning point in your life that became a catalyst for transformation?
Definitely. I mean, you and I met through the 3% conference, which was an entrepreneurial venture I started that really was kind of a huge part of my identity, my professional efforts. And it was a 10-year crusade around the lack of diversity in the creative end of advertising, mostly in the gender prism. And when COVID hit, we were in year 9, and it just became really challenging to gather safely in large numbers, which is what our whole business model was based on conferences. So it was a huge, hiccup in the way things had run, but definitely caused me to do some introspection and think about what I wanted to do personally with my career, how to continue to serve the mission that might not be event centric. And that became the motivation for me to become an executive coach, to go back and get my coaching certification. I also became a Reiki master, which is something that I never would have had time to do while running the conference.
Mhm.
And then out of my coaching certification, it created a community of coaches. You are actually a member of the 3% Coaching Coalition. There are about 21 of us that are all creative leaders that are now executive coaches, and we all have a vision about democratizing coaching. So a beautiful kind of I don't want to say a complete detour, but a pivot from still caring about the mission of diversity and personal excellence, but finding new avenues that were more aligned with my energy level and also kind of the safety and the frictionless of travel in the world, which was changing. And so I thought, okay, everything now is done on Zoom. And so we're still person by person making transformational change, but we don't have to gather in huge numbers in big cities.
Well, and also it was such a beautiful way for you to pivot because for you to become a coach, everyone will be so lucky to be able to be coached by you.
Oh,
And
thank
and
you.
so I'm super glad to see that and happy to be part of the coalition with you. And I can't imagine how many challenges it's been of just even that going through that transformation. I'm curious to hear like what was the biggest challenge that you faced during this period and how did you overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge was money, was
Mm,
really my relationship with earning. There was such a direct correlation between with the conference, my efforts and the monies that came in that supported a team. I mean, I supported a team.
right.
We were able to do a lot of things for the industry with the monies we raised. We did research, we did certification, and all of a sudden that faucet was completely turned off and I had no income whatsoever. And I also went through a divorce at that time. And so money was kind of there were certain flows of money that were turned off there too. And so it was a real reckoning for me around what does money signify? And I think the thing that really, really helped me during that time was a book I read called Money, a Love Story by Kate Northrup. And I'd always been a good earner. I'd always been a good manifester. And I just kind of thought that meant you were quote unquote good with money. And I read this book and it blew my mind because it basically talked about money as a unit of energy. I mean, now I'm in the world of Reiki. That's a term I use all the time, energy, and that money is just another example of a form of energy. And as soon as I reframed it that way and started to see that as long as I was following what my energy wanted to do and how my energy wanted to express in the world, it felt like the wealthiest thing I could do.
Mm,
And it enabled me to unhook from just like simple bank statements and what's coming in and what's going out. I mean, obviously, we all have certain responsibilities, and there's guardrails around how long you can go with making no money. But
yeah.
I had to really sit in that discomfort for a long time, and I'm so grateful for that because it made me super clear and clean on what my greatest value is, and that it's not always reflected by, zeros on a bank statement.
I love that of even just thinking about money as an energy and really reflecting on what is giving you energy too, because that is a big driver of like just how we're moving in our life too.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Well, it sounds like you had a lot of reframes and like the shifting in your mindset. What mindset shifts would you say that helped you continue to like move forward and grow?
mm. I think it's so fascinating how we grow up and there's so many forces that shape who we think we are. Our parents, our culture, our religion, our schooling. And I think one of the biggest mindset shifts for me was as I was getting more and more deeply into my Reiki study. I mean, think
Mm,
about it. I was trained as an advertising copywriter, a creative director. It's all about words and communication and persuasion. Reiki is the exact opposite. It's wordless, it's silent, it's about an intuition and kind of an exchange that happens between people. Um, it's just a completely different um, exchange. And I kept talking about Reiki to my friends as like this wild card thing I was exploring. Like, isn't this crazy? I'm doing this thing. And it was a friend of mine my friend Hillary said to me, Kat, I think you became a neck up thinker because that was what was valued in your family of origin. That was how you gained love and approval in your family. She goes, but I actually think you're a more spirit embodied person right at the jump. And this is a homecoming for you. And that
oh, I
blew my
love
mind.
that.
And she was 100% right. And she reminded me of when I was a little girl, I put on a magic show for the kids in the neighborhood. I have a picture
Oh,
of
that's
me doing this
amazing.
magic show. So I'm like, wow, that's so interesting. So I would definitely encourage your listeners to think about your self concept. Like, what's informing that? Is it,
Mhm.
how do you know that's true? And the more I just followed what spoke to me and felt natural and felt good, the more I realized that wasn't some like brand new little side hustle thing. It was actually the whole thing. And in a weird way, advertising, I think, was a 30-year detour for me. I
Mm.
enjoyed it. There were some beautiful moments. I was good at it, but I don't feel like it actually is as aligned with the person I am as what I'm doing now.
I love that with what you saying it's a homecoming. That's so beautiful of like even realizing that and you stepping into this now. I definitely need to sign up for a class and we'll make sure to include the link for people to learn more about it from you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing about the mindset shifts. And as we shift the way we think about things, there's always great learning lessons from that too. So, and also a lot of failures. So, I would love for you to share if there were moments of failures along the way, and then how did you learn from them?
Yeah. You know, I think that COVID, I went through so many changes that could be framed as failures. My marriage ended after 27 years. I was no longer someone's wife. My youngest child left for college. I was no longer a day-to-day mother. COVID hit, and I was no longer running the 3% conference, which had been my life's work for 10 years. Um, and I think, it stripped me of all these kind of labels that gave me a sense of who I was. And I wasn't making money. It was kind of this real stripping of everything. And I think I had
Mhm.
a moment where I realized if I can still love myself, I mean, literally love myself and be in a sense of surrender, that what comes next will be aligned without any of these things that kind of were definitional for me. That was really the turnaround for me. And so I think, if you can still access love yourself and realize that your worth is not defined or calibrated by any of those roles,
Mm,
um, that it almost felt like the universe was testing me, like, okay, we're going to take away all these things, almost like clothes you wear to like adorn yourself as
mhm.
safe or protected or acceptable. um it was and the answer was yes. Like, I got to a place, it was tough. But I now feel, knowing that I can still love myself and feel of value without those things, makes me not fear another round of changes or things I might lose or shifts or evolutions. And so I think it's such a great unlock, because you don't live in fear of change, and change is
Mm,
fairly constant in life. I mean, as coaches, we know that. I mean,
yeah,
most of coaching is figuring out where in the change cycle your client is and normalizing that for them and helping them see what might be next, and
right.
having a spirit of kind of curiosity around change instead of fear and dread.
And it's a great reminder too, where instead of relying on all these external factors and things in our life, to look within, and loving yourself is so powerful, and it's easier said than done because going through that journey is really hard. And I see that for someone where I recently went through this Love Jessalyn 2 season of loving myself, being a new mom. I still say new even though my daughter's 3. And it is like the becoming of like who you are. And I have felt that it's increased my own capacity to be able to like give to others because I'm filling my own cup, and it's a really big game changer. So it's great to hear that you've been doing that too.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, for anyone out there that might share this. There was a point where I literally typed into Google, what is self-love? Because you would hear
Mm,
it as a concept, and I had a sense it was something I needed to explore. I didn't even know what it was. Like, what is it? And I found this great, um, I guess it was a class by Corey Mascara. He's a influencer on Instagram, but he basically talked about self-love. And it's funny, Jessalyn, that you kind of anchored that into your new motherhood, because he showed a video of a father with a maybe 2-year-old son who was having a complete meltdown, the kind that we've all seen that are parents, where a child just cannot get out of the spiral of their own emotionality. And they're just like, they start to calm down and the sobs start to stop, and then they just come back and they just cannot comfort themselves and soothe themselves. And the dad just stayed there with the child, didn't say anything to him, didn't try to distract him, just was there. And when the child finally just fell into his dad's arms, he said that's self-love, is that you're on your own team in that way, where when you're spiraling or you
mm,
feel like I should be able to get over this, or I'm so emotional about this, you're just that parental love that's
for
nearby that's like,
yourself.
it's okay, and I'm going to hold you through this.
Yeah.
And I just think it's we never learn that. And so I'll sometimes just remind myself that I'm Team Catherine. I'm Team Catherine. And it's not an ego thing, it's a soul thing. It's like, I'm going to trust that I'm going to be there for myself every step of the way. And I'm gonna have compassion for the times that I fall short. And I think that that is something we should be teaching in school.
Everyone. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
It's definitely something that even I haven't grown up learning how to love. And I love that story of what you're saying about the parent being there for the kid. And so for me, I even try to being a parent for me, it's been not only parenting differently, but it's also been healing my own inner child of like, okay, I
Mm.
can teach her these things and it's teaching myself how to love. And I love that you're calling it Team Catherine, I think you said it was,
Yeah.
for it because having your name in it sits
Mm.
differently, where
Mm.
it's not just like, yep, I'm gonna love myself. It's like, no, this is a priority and this is like really important and it's a great
Yeah.
reminder. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I know it's also we are talking about loving ourselves. I'm also curious to hear like as you're in your journey, there's also community is important because we're
Huge.
not alone in terms of what we're doing. So I'm curious for you, who or what supported you during the time of transformation?
Yeah. I mean, I actually, community is one of my top values. Probably no
Mhm.
surprise given that I keep starting these community-based
Yes, you're so great at
organizations.
it.
Well, it's just who I am. And I realized that when I left my marriage, I moved to a completely new town
Mhm.
and really had to kind of reinvent myself here, new friends. I found a new tennis community because I'm really into tennis. Um, and I recently made a list on my phone of what I call expanders. These are people that when I talk to them, they expand my own understanding of myself. My friend Hillary, that I referenced a moment ago, she's on that list. Rob Schwartz, who's my coach, he's
Mhm.
on that list. Laurel Stark, who's a dear friend, she's on that list. And I try to talk to at least one of these people every week because I know that the way they see me and my potential is often greater than the way I see myself. And I
Mhm.
hope that I'm on that list for some other people because um you can't just be the only thing that's fueling your own life. We are communal creatures, we are tribal, we need one another. And so yes, I have a beautiful community. I mean, starting the coaching coalition was very much about community because coaching is a very solitary pursuit. You're on Zoom,
Mhm.
one client at a time typically, and it's so nice to sit in sacred community with other coaches who all come from a creative background. Like we just have so much in common, and we're all desirous of being the best coaches we can be, but also taking comfort in one another. And so, yeah, I found a lot of community, my Reiki community. I mean,
Mhm.
in Reiki, there's actually a word for community, which is Kula, Kula.
Oh.
And we have Kula activities, satsangs, where we come together and learning or potlucks or energy work. We give Reiki to one another because as a Reiki master, when you're giving a Reiki treatment to someone else, it's an energy exchange. You need someone to also be giving you Reiki so that,
Mm.
again, your
You're
cup is full,
receiving it
you
too,
said a
right?
moment ago. So yeah, I've got an abundance of community, and even my neighbors. I think about the house I bought here in Napa. I know all my neighbors. They know my dog. Um, there's such a sense of community here that I really didn't have in Palo Alto. I had friends, but I
Mhm.
didn't feel that same sense of kind of neighborliness. So I feel really like a huge abundance of community.
That's amazing, and also just the comment you mentioned of hoping to be that for someone else, and I love that you're calling it expander. You definitely are for a lot of people, including myself, so it's been
Oh,
amazing to be in community just with the coaching coalition because it can be lonely being just a coach, so then talking to other people, having community, sharing resources, and really being able to rebrand what coaching looks like, or I really love what you've said to me recently of wanting to make coaching really accessible to everyone. So
yeah.
it's a great way where it's introducing it to everyone and you're so great at community. So I love that you're so intentional about it. And even for me, like this year, connection was one of my words, and I've been trying to be more intentional about it. But I love
Mm,
what you even said of making sure you're talking to your expanders at least once a week, like being
yes.
really intentional, like putting it on the calendar. So that's really important of how you're even making time for people in your community.
Yeah, and it can be as simple as a text, you know?
Mhm.
It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be a call. It's just checking in. And sometimes I feel like the way that women especially text one another, I think about it especially when I'm like in the hairdresser's chair,
Yeah.
getting my hair highlighted. And so you're underneath that dome for, an hour. And I always seem to like get into this beautiful rapid fire text exchange with a friend when I'm there, and just the stuff we're sharing. And um, there's something so beautiful about that. You know, serendipitous kind of, hey, are you around? And what's going on? And did you read this? And what
Mhm.
are you doing? And you have to try this recipe. And oh my God, I have to tell you something. And it's like women are so good at that kind of the feeding of each other, nourishing of each other.
Yeah. Well, I also want to go into talking about habits because that definitely is really important of like how we're showing up day to day and also talking about like thriving habits. What
Mhm.
are some practical steps or habits that have helped you during this transformation for you?
I would say the number one habit that has helped me and sustained me is morning pages. Are you familiar with what that is? Morning pages?
At a journal or
Yeah, it's a
okay.
concept from the book The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron's, well revered book. And it's a simple practice where every morning when you get up, the first thing you do is sit with a pen and a notebook. She stipulates it has to be an 8.5 by 11 inch, notebook.
Yeah.
But the idea is not typing, writing. And you
Mhm.
empty your brain. You just fill 3 pages. It's not trying to create something that's going to be published or anything that anyone's going to read. It's exfoliating your thoughts. I heard it called once.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and what it does is it enables you to start the day without the debris of whatever you're
Mm.
carrying. It could be something you dreamed about last night or something that you're trying to figure out. And you just kind of park all your thoughts and then you start your day. And not only do I do that almost every day, but I do something she does not recommend, but I go back and I read my morning pages from previous weeks, months, years. It's
Mhm.
such an amazing way for me to see my own progress. Because sometimes when we think, oh my gosh, why am I still trying to figure this thing out? Or why am I still hung up on this experience? When you go back and you read how you wrote about things a while ago, you realize you have made progress. Like you
Mm.
are shifting the way you think about things. It's just incremental. And so I would say morning pages is the single most important thing. I also, having a dog, you walk, you're outside
Mhm.
in nature at least twice a day. And I love that. I just love being in motion. I rarely put things in my ears while I'm walking. Like I'm not listening to something. I'm just listening to the bird song. I'm just awake to the day. I'm kind of, in motion and just trying to be in my body. And one thing I've started to do, I started during the pandemic. They call them like beauty walks or noticing walks. It's where you're just
Oh.
very awake to the beauty of whatever you're seeing in the world. And I started during COVID posting photos I would take on my daily walks of like gardens or cloud formations or just beautiful things out in the world. And, California in March, which is when COVID hit, was already in spring and it's just spectacular. And a lot of the country was still blanketed under snow and it was a scary time. And um, a lot of people said that those photos really helped them through those dark
I love
months. And
that.
so I just kept doing it. So every week or so on Instagram, I dump a bunch of pictures and I have the same caption every week. It says this week's eye candy. And it's
Mhm.
just
Yeah.
photos of beautiful things. Sometimes my dog's in it, sometimes I'm in it, sometimes things I've cooked are in it, but it's just there's so much beauty in the world and in the
Mhm.
details of the world. And so I say that kind of that noticing is really important. And then the last thing I'll say in terms of habits is meditation, which was part of my Reiki program,
Yeah.
was sitting in daily meditation. The thing that is really miraculous to me about Reiki is becoming a Reiki practitioner was less about learning techniques or tactics. It was about becoming the cleanest vessel for intuition, becoming a tuning
Mm.
for the energy of other people. And what that entails is meditation, it's
Yeah.
forgiveness, it's being clean of things that are cluttering your brain.
Yeah.
And so I do my meditations at night. I light a candle. I usually do it around 9 o'clock at night. I sit in the same place in my home every day with your feet on the floor. I'm facing east, which is preferential, but that's where the bench that I like to sit on is
Mm,
facing east. And there's a chanting element to the way I was trained, and then a specific kind of breathing element. And then the true meditation begins, which is just literally eyes closed, breath normal, um, and just being in your body. And it's not with the intent to have like some big knowing or to silence every thought. For me, it's to remind myself what my lowest center of gravity feels like and to
mm.
know that that's available to me at all times. And so I would say anyone that has never tried meditation, it's a game changer.
It sounds like you have so many amazing habits already. And even as you're sharing them, it makes me think about something I've been being more intentional about is like nourishing your mind, body, heart, and soul. And I feel like you mentioned different habits to nourish all of that, all parts of yourself. So it's
Mm.
really great to hear that. And I love that you're waking up to journaling every morning. Something that I actually am trying that's new this week is, have you heard of scripting? It's
No.
part of manifesting, and I'll have to send this to you. So it's like we're all about like manifesting. You manifest the reality that you want to create. And so scripting is another tool where you're writing it down with what you're grateful for, you're setting the stage, writing it in present tense, being able
Yes.
to surrender, and then being able to talk about what are some of the manifestation wins that you're having. So it's only been day two that I've been trying this, and I have a journal of it that I was like, oh, this is actually incredible. And it's actually really fun because you get to visualize and be creative about it. So it's such a great way of feeling it. They also even say, like, when you're writing about it, to write the feelings, how it feels to live in that experience that you want to create.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. And just it's occurring to me as we speak, Jessalyn, that when I was running the 3% movement, I did not have time, or I don't know. I think everyone can find the time, but
Right.
my life was just moving at a pace that was very
Fast.
fast.
Like,
And
yeah.
quite frankly, I'm grateful to be off that treadmill. And
Hmm.
and there is a leisureliness about my life now. I mean, even when I do my morning pages, I have a candle burning, I have meditation music playing.
Mm.
My dog is waiting for her walk. Like it's very, very, it's an ease into the day that
Like a slow morning,
when
those
I
are
had small
amazing.
children, that was not happening either. So I realized that this is maybe a little, you know, I'm I'm an older person that's not working 40 hours a week. And so, take what you can, find a tiny moment for meditation. If you commute into work on a subway, you can absolutely do this in, 3
Right, on
minutes.
the commute. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's what's helped me with meditation. I'm a big person on meditation too. Of course, I could be better on it, but even my therapist was the one who told me like, you could do it on the subway, do it on the commute, and you don't have to do it as like a sit down, close your eyes, and like you kind of create it as your own, and then you build that practice. So just being
Yeah,
able to start small there. Yeah.
exactly. Love it. I love a therapist that's encouraging
Suggesting, I know.
meditation. Yeah.
It's been great. Well, I also want, it sounds like you already have all these amazing thriving habits. I would love to hear how you defined thriving. So how's like transformation like has shaped who you are today? So what does thriving mean to you?
Hmm. That's such a beautiful question. Well, it's definitely something I think about because when I'm coaching people, that's totally what I'm hoping. Like I'm always telling them, like I'm rooting for you and I
Right.
believe in you and I'm excited for you and I want them to thrive. I guess for me, thriving is evolving. It's being in a state of co-creation of your own soul, with a spirit of openness and curiosity. Um, it's trying as much as possible to quiet your own ego.
Yeah.
Um, and it's being in service. It's not only what can I do for my own life to feel more juicy and yummy and alive, but how am I actually in community with other people in that way? Like
Hmm.
what am I contributing to other people also feeling a sense of thriving? So yeah, I would say that that's my definition. I'm really, really not. seeing anymore. Like when I hear about people that are still chasing these very old school things,
Mhm.
they feel like old trophies to me. Like, why?
Mm,
Okay, congrats, you won that thing, or you went
right.
to Cannes, or
Mhm.
and I did all those things. And I realized that when they interview people that have like won Nobel Prizes or Oscars or Olympic medals, or people that have had the top tier experience of humanity, or so we thought, and they ask them like their happiest moments, it's like being with their children
Right.
or being with their beloved or
Mhm.
being in nature and seeing something awesome in nature. It's not these kind of striving, achieving, conquering, amassing things. It's presence. And
Yes.
so I think thriving is being in the deepest presence as you can in every given moment with your own soul, with your own journey, with other people, not to try to win or game the system, but to just accept the human condition and try to learn from it and try to have a spirit of openness.
Yeah, and it's like savoring that journey because so many of us were rushing to the destination where it's being able to enjoy that journey and ride along the way. I think that's
Mm,
really, and I love what you were saying of that thriving is evolving. We're changing every day, so being able to embrace that.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I love to always ask how people celebrate themselves because you have so many great wins and we don't want to be in this hustle culture of like go go go. So, what do you do when it comes to acknowledging your growth and success?
Hmm. Um, I said a moment ago about how I'm Team Catherine.
Yeah.
And so I talk out loud to myself a lot. So if something happens where I can tell how I reacted to something or how I showed up to something is an evolution and improvement for me,
Hmm.
I will say out loud, I'm Team Catherine, like Team Catherine. Or also if there's something I'm trying to figure out, especially something painful, and you can really wonder if you're ruminating on something for too long. And I
Mm,
heard this great definition from a therapist that said it's not rumination if you're still making fresh connections. That means if
mm,
you're thinking about some situation, whether it's with a family member or
right.
something that's painful, and if you've thought about it so many hours and if
Yeah.
you're still making fresh connections, then it's not rumination. And so I will say out loud to myself, that's a new thought
Oh, I love that.
because it's reassuring myself that I am not just beating a dead horse. I'm actually trying
Right.
to extract every last bit of understanding from
Mm,
something. So those are two things that I kind of do for myself to remind myself that I'm on the right path. And then, I my dad died last year and I have a ring that was my nana's. And I spent some money to reset that ring, money that I really probably shouldn't have spent. And that's why I want to share it here because sometimes the thing that you do is a tangible thing because it's like a talisman. And so I now wear my Nana's ring every single day. And I don't know, it just feels like it's a connection to my lineage. Um, it just felt like something I felt called to have on my person at all time. And
mhm,
so sometimes the things are just mantras or sayings or
right.
beautiful little routines, but sometimes they're physical things that you want to have in your field of vision or on your personhood that tie you to some sense of belonging or connection.
Mm,
So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, thanks for sharing
Thanks.
that. Well, I also would love for you to share some like resources or tools, like what has helped you maintain momentum during your own life journey?
Yeah. Um, there's a podcast that I really love called To Be Magnetic. Do you know that one, Jessalyn?
No, I'm definitely will add that on my list.
Okay, yeah, I think as I was starting my Reiki study, it's kind of woo-woo. It's about manifestation. Um, but there's something about every time I listen to it, I feel like I get some other understanding of a layer of um kind of our own ability to call in what we want and not feel that we're just at the victim of a random world. And so it's a really interesting podcast. So I would say that's something interesting to keep listening to. And I still listen. Um, and then I've talked about nature because I think that's like the most important thing, to try to get your daily dose of being in nature. And something very recently I started back up again when I thought about like when have I felt best in my life. I
Mhm.
kept returning to this memory of when I lived in Palo Alto, which I did for many, many, many years. There was a long period where I would go to this boot camp at Stanford University and it was tough. I mean, we would run, we would jump rope, we would do weight training, but it was communal. There's that community piece for me. It was in nature. There's that nature piece for me. And there was something about sweating hard and pushing my body and feeling strong, not in like an alpha way, in
Right.
a goddess way. That's the only way I can
Oh,
like
I love
and I was like, gosh, I feel that at times. I still play competitive tennis, and there are times where I get super sweaty and we win a match, and that feeling is there, but it's more intermittent. And so I just started going back to group fitness classes,
Mm.
where we're doing, weights and pushing myself, and it's 1 hour. And I really, really, really think I needed to know that I'm strong. What does it feel like to be strong? And as women, you read that it's important for us to do weight resistance. It's good
Mhm.
for bones and our muscles and but that always sounds like such a icky invitation, like don't grow old, come do this. And I feel like it's a more like I feel young in a way. I feel like I'm in third grade again and like on the blacktop, like at recess. Like
Yeah.
it makes me feel really like my body feels um superhuman or something. It's just a
Yeah.
really, really good feeling that I don't access very often. And so I
Mm.
would say anything that makes your body feel strong, do it.
I love that, and I definitely am a big fan of encouraging women to do strength training because this past year I hired a fitness trainer and not only have lost like over 30 pounds, I've also done so much strength training where it's and I have my fitness trainer record me because during bedtime I show my daughter and then I tell her I'm
Oh,
like, "Oh, mommy's strong." And then I also do affirmations with her so she says I'm strong too. So it's just amazing to show her. I mean, she's only 3, but, like, to, like, introduce this to her early on because I would
yes.
love to see younger, like, women at the gym and, like or any age at the gym because most of the time it's not. So, like, learning that has increased my confidence in so many levels. So I'm also trying to learn how to inspire other people to do it because we are really strong and we just don't know it because we haven't tried it. So it's also applying that growth mindset of like, okay, we haven't learned it yet. And then once but now it's been a year of me going to the gym twice a week for strength training, and I'm impressed with myself. I'm like, "Oh, I could, like, lift 100 pounds or leg press this much," and it's definitely helped apply it to other areas of my life too, because I have been able to see how transformative it's been.
That I love that you show your daughter those videos. And I love it too, because what you're also telling her is that you're in the world, yes, as her mother, but also as your own beautiful light. Like you're not just
Mhm.
defined by being her mom.
Yeah,
And that might seem like something a little girl doesn't want to know, but I think she does want to know that because then she feels super proud that like this is her parent that is strong and in the world, and other
yeah,
people are seeing you lift weights like, oh, that's just awesome. So
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, the last question I would love to ask you is what's one message or mantra or advice that you'd love to leave people with who might be struggling to take that first step for their own transformation?
Mm, mm. Yeah, there was a quote I saw recently that I thought was awesome that was not every closed door is locked. Push.
Mm,
So, so often we kind of bench ourselves because we just get some little indication that it won't be available to us. But often it is available to us. We just have to inquire or
Keep
push
pushing.
or
Mm.
believe in it. Yeah, and then there was another quote I saw, I have no prime. I will forever evolve into a better version of myself. I think that that is absolutely true. And the more I accept that every day that I can take a breath in this body, that I'm still alive, I'll probably be still figuring something out, struggling with something,
Mhm.
and I think for a long time, I just kept thinking, well, when am I going to be done with this Earth School curriculum and be like a graduate and be like, okay, I learned all the things and now I'm just,
Yeah.
coasting with my degree. And I was like, oh, I get it. Like the curriculum is constant. That's the whole point of Earth School is that we're
Mhm.
given lessons. And, when you're struggling with something, I used to feel, I don't want to say shame, but I would kind of be like, oh my gosh, why am I not figuring this out? Or why am I in a bad mood about this? And I'd kind of like berate myself. And then I was like, oh, I'm on my way to figuring it out. And this is how it feels to be in that middle place.
Mhm.
We can't always be in the finished
Right.
lane. There has to be some times that we're in process.
Yeah.
And so I have a lot more grace for myself of when I'm in process. And it's like, okay, maybe tomorrow, on some random day you figure it out and you never know why that was the moment that the light bulb went off or you forgave someone or those shifts. It's like they're so incremental and then they're done. I've actually been working on a Substack about this exact topic. So I'm glad to kind of,
Oh, can't wait to read it.
yeah, yeah.
That's so important because it's even that power of yet, where it's like, okay, we don't know how to do it yet, and we're still learning, and to keep going because we're learning. It's a learning and growth opportunity.
Right,
Um,
exactly. And I don't know where we got the idea that like as soon as we're done with school, that there is no more of
Nothing
that
else.
kind of,
Yeah, we need to be like a student of life, like
right,
ongoing. Yeah.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This was so much fun, and I really have loved just hearing your journey and different aspects of it, and even everything about your like thriving and how you're transforming. And this was such an inspiring conversation, and it's a reminder for everyone listening that transformation begins when we embrace these challenges and be able to grow and learn from setbacks in our lives and continue to take actions, even those little micro steps moving forward. So thank you again for joining Transform and Thrive. And for anyone listening, if this episode resonated with you, definitely share it and put a thumbs up. And would love for you to subscribe to our channel as well. So thank you. Thank you so much.